What is up, and welcome to episode 45 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. It's been a minute since I've put up a podcast. I just went and checked on Spotify. It's been since December 14th of 2021, and it is now May 4th. So it's been a long time. And in today's episode, I kind of want to talk about why I took that hiatus, what has been going on in my life, and some other things that have been on my mind, because I've learned a lot in this period, a lot of growth, and I appreciate y'all for sticking with me if you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube. Real quick, if you're on YouTube, I'd really appreciate if you hit me with a like, subscribe, do the whole share thing, help grow the channel. If you're on Spotify and you've liked the podcast in the past, I'd really appreciate if you shared the podcast, and now you can leave a review. You can also leave a review on iTunes as well. Apple Podcasts? I don't even know. It's been that long since I've been out the game. 4 months will do it to you. But guys, it feels good to be back making really consistent content on YouTube. The podcast posts have been popping off pretty well. So maybe it was a needed break, because at times you just need to reset, take a rest, and get back to it. But let's get into it. Where have I been? What have I been doing? Still been at home, still been out in the gym. I've picked up a lot of new clients, which is taking up more of my time, which is exactly what I wanted, really working on that in-person personal training business. I'm up to 7 clients in person now. My goal with in-person is to train 20 to 25 hours a week, so I can make a decent income, but still have time for online coaching, content creation, because I think that's the best move in the long run. You know, everybody's goal as a trainer is to kind of move on to that online space to free up your time. And that's one thing that, it's always been in my mind, but I'm 25 years old. I have a lot of time and energy to work. Love the clients that I'm working with in person now. Everybody is doing great. So just a little update of what I've been up to. Building out a business and figuring out your systems takes time. As I got more and more busy, I realized I had some systems that I needed to improve upon, such as billing, scheduling, and those are some things that just took me away from making the podcast. But like I said, once you kind of put the time into developing your systems, getting everything straight, kind of figuring out how to manage your time as you take on new challenges, then you have time to free up to get back to your passions. And the podcast has been one of my biggest passions. I love connecting with new people and sharing perspectives, people that I respect, people that I look up to. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into that on a weekly basis, dropping podcasts, dropping YouTube videos for you guys. So it feels good to be back. What else has been up with me? Man, I'm in a relationship now. Shout out to Brooke. I don't even know if she's listened to a few episodes. I don't know if she'll listen to this one, but I do appreciate you. That's been really good. So I've been living life, having a good time with that. And I'm currently in like a cut diet phase. So that has been a really good challenge for me as well. Training has been superb over the past few months. Really focused on hypertrophy training lately. That was pretty much my goal for the past year, but kind of fully committed to it. And I'm actually going to do a bodybuilding show in May of 2023, natural show in Indianapolis, WMPF. I think this is the first time I'm really putting it out there, but I'm really excited for that. And pretty much what all my training and diet has been geared toward. I wanted to cut down some of the fat that I put on over my mass phase, which was from like October to February after I got back from Spain. Yeah, I went to Spain. That was another thing that happened. Really cool trip. So I did that whole thing, and I realized it was time for a cut. But yeah, overall hypertrophy training has been my goal. And I guess that pretty much catches y'all up with what I've been doing. I've still been, trying to put out consistent posts on Instagram, trying to spread good content, but I kind of have reframed the way I want to do content now and make it really more so of like a highlight reel rather than making a highlight reel. I'd rather have it be more serving the people, because that's where I get the best engagement, which is rewarding for me. And it's also just cool to put out the information that I consume on a daily basis to the masses, or well, not to the masses, but to my audience, because, the more good information we spread about training, the more success that we're going to have, the more essentially good stuff will be out there, the more money I could potentially make. So that's what's been up, guys. I have a couple of things listed out of stuff that's been on my mind. So let's transition into that. And I kind of briefly hit on this, but creating sustainable balance is something that I have really learned a lot about. And as I hear from more and more people, balance really isn't present when building a business or when preparing for a bodybuilding show. And I want to, for a lot of people, it's definitely possible. A lot of people do it, but on the same token, a lot of people don't have that balance. They dive in 100% into building their business. They dive 100% into like a competition or a fitness goal. And then other aspects of life really suffer. Obviously, that's something that I've dealt with in the past. I've talked about that in the past. Sacrificed like relationships and friendships in the past because I had that mindset. But I think I've learned a really good balance lately. So how do you do that? How do you create that sustainable balance? There's a couple of things that come to mind, 3 things that really come to my mind. The first one is take your time and be okay with a gradual increase. That's the thing, is you're not going to pop off if you want to live a balanced life. Like if you're going in 100% towards your business, towards your content production, towards your fitness goals, you're going to get great results really quickly. But like any kind of, like I compare this to a diet because that's the first thing that comes to mind. If you go 100% into a diet, you typically do have a rebound effect where you'll see some weight gain back. If I were to go 100% into this business, I'm going to lose out on other aspects of life. Maybe not being able to maintain some of my friendships, not able to enjoy being in a relationship. So you have to slow down your rate of progress and realize that that's okay, because I've been able to enjoy so much out of life while still seeing gradual progress. And I think that's what it's all about. Managing your financial expectations is a big part within that. You hear it all the time. People say they're just barely scraping by within their first year of business. And I'm about a year in now, not quite. And I can totally attest to that. I was stressed out about money quite a bit, which, is maybe one of the downsides, maybe something I'd recommend people to do differently than what I did, because I just simply can't do what some of my peers that have great jobs are doing, buying a house, buying new cars, really investing into their hobbies and passions is something that I'm not able to do. I'm living with my parents, but I'm really proud of the business that I've made and the freedom and flexibility that offers. You just got to manage your expectations. There's give and take with everything. I mean, personally, I'd rather be able to do pretty much exactly what I want to do, travel whenever I want to, make however much money I want to, realistically put in the effort, with the sacrifice of, maybe it's not as much money I could be making if I had like a 9-to-5 and some corporate type gig, but that's fine with me. I'm totally good with that. And really just embracing, like, it's such a cheesy thing to say, but like embracing the process. Like, I think that I'm going to look back on these times and think like these were the golden years where I'm like working to make this business happen. I got my good group of clients that are coming in, my supporters, online people, in-person people that I interact with on social media. And it's just a really good time in life. Like, I have good friends, good community of support, lots of new ideas spinning in my head. And yeah, I think it's going to be something that I look back on. And, while there's struggles right now and I'm like, dang, I wish I was making a little bit more money, to be 100% honest with you guys. I wish I could like move out. I wish I could put my gym in a retail space. I know those things are going to happen within the next 2-3 years. So I'm not sweating it, because if I were to really strive to do those things, I'd be sacrificing other areas of life and I might not even be happy 100%. So it's all right. That's kind of what I had in mind about balance. If you guys have any other reflections, feel free to message me or leave a comment down below. But honestly, I wouldn't take back the way I'm doing things, because like I said, when people go 100% in on any given thing, I think that's where a lot of great progress can be made. And that's where probably the best outcomes come from. But I'm all about living that balance and having a good time as I enjoy everything that I'm doing. That kind of transitions me well into the next part of the topic, which is making time for what you care about. I'm going to sip on some coffee real quick for my audio people out here. But making time for what you care about is something that I really lacked on in the past. I would cut out video games, which is something that I enjoy, television, hanging out with friends, going places, going out to eat with family, and like relationships. I would sacrifice that because I was so set on achieving a fitness goal or, getting a business off the ground. The thing is, it might be a little slower, but you can do all those things while going out to eat with your family, enjoying a relationship, living a balanced life in general. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way probably, but I'm glad that I did, because going forward, and I hope that if you're in this situation, please hear me. You can do it all. Like I said, you might not have the same rate of growth that you like, but you can make time for the things that you care about, the things that bring you small joy and pleasure in life. You can definitely do all of those things while you're building a business, while you're prepping for a bodybuilding show or a powerlifting meet, whatever you might be doing fitness goal wise. You can make it happen. So you got to manage your expectations, but hear me out. This is how I did it. I had to kind of step back, and I'd like a lot 2 days where I didn't really do that much work. And that was a weird concept for me because in the past I had to be on work mode 100% of the time. And when you're on 100% of the time, it's just not sustainable. To me, that sustainability, it wasn't like I crashed and lost motivation to build a business or hit the gym all the time, but there's other little habits that creep in when you're on 100% of the time. For example, I was on social media way too much because it was like an escape for me. However, now that I'm taking a couple of days off a week, to maybe even 3 sometimes, if an occasion arises, I feel like when I am working, I'm way more locked in. And I used to think like the concept of the weekend was kind of stupid. Like, you don't really need to rest. You don't really need to take off time from work. And it's true. You probably don't need to. But just like in any exercise program or diet, you can only go linearly increasing in your gains for so long. At a certain point, you're going to experience some drop off, or maybe even a total flop where your progress drops drastically. There's a lot of parallels between life and training and diet, nutrition, all that stuff. So as I was able to really take time and explore those things that I was passionate about, make time to play video games with some of my friends, make time to read, make time to pursue other creative endeavors, I realized that I was able to bring a whole new level of kind of quality and concentration toward my work. And that's been a huge revelation for me over these past 4 months, something that even up until like the new year, I wasn't very good at. So for those out there that might be building a business or looking to just improve your situation overall, that's a good thing to keep in mind. Just patience is a virtue, and it's the key for a lot of these things. This is going to be definitely more of a quick hitter episode because I just wanted to give you guys like a where am I, where have I been, and what's next. So what's next for the podcast is something that I really want to talk about because I had to level up the Trainer Scoop when COVID happened, right? For my day ones, y'all remember when I was interviewing people in person in the lobby, no, in the conference room of the gym that I worked at. So I had some of the most experienced trainers in my company coming through, and we would do interviews talking about how to be a good personal trainer. Of course, COVID happened, so I had to adapt, kind of expanded that to more experts in general fitness or people in academia researching nutrition and training. And that was a really, really cool adaptation for me. But I think like everything, it's an evolutionary process. So I want to continue to level up and maybe change the Trainer Scoop a little bit. And I'm really excited for this. But what does that look like? I want to bring on maybe some of the same guests, some new guests. I kind of had an aversion to bringing on the same guests back in the day. And when you have like 40, I think I had about 40 guests out of my total 44 episodes. I only did a couple solo episodes. So the list can kind of get hard, and reaching out to new people can get challenging. So I might be bringing some of my prior guests that were awesome back to talk more about different topics, or maybe expand on the topics that we had talked about in the past. But also, I kind of want to change the tone of the podcast, because I have like two different modes. And one, for everybody that knows me, it's kind of like more chill, more casual. I'm a very easygoing, sometimes can get vulgar with it, like more conversational tone is what I'm trying to say. So I have that tone, and then I have like educational David mode, right? And that's kind of like the tone of this episode. I wanted to bridge the gap of being super informal or being super formal to like a slightly more informal tone. So that's where I see the podcast going. I'm really excited to kind of branch out with it. And I think it's just capturing more of like what I feel is important to highlight. There's so many people out there talking about the formal science. There's, on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of like bro anecdotal type stuff. So I kind of want to like be right in the middle. I feel like that's my lane, because I have that formal background of a Bachelor of Science. I'm not like a super PhD smart, but I have a lot of cool experiences too. So I want to marry the two. And that's where I see the podcast going. I also definitely want to, as summer pops around, I definitely want to kind of get into content creator mode a little bit more, dropping more frequent YouTube videos that are high quality, posts every day if I can of high quality informational content. But of course, there's going to be times in there where you'll get your peaks and valleys in terms of content creation. So I recognize that now, and I'm going to try my best to just keep chugging along, playing the long game. That's one thing that I feel like I'm very good at, is playing the long game. So we'll see where it leads me. I have high hopes for it. So content creation mode is about to be a little bit more of a priority for me. What's next in terms of training? So like I said, I'm kind of on a cut right now, getting ready for summer, have a couple of trips planned for summer. I'm gonna be looking shredded for, not gonna lie, that's up there on the priority list. But after that, it's going to be putting on as much size as I can for this natural bodybuilding show. So definitely gonna be eating some food and training extremely hard as we transition into the later summer and fall months. I'm looking forward to that. And then, yeah, cutting down for a show. I'm probably going to hire a coach. I'm not sure how far out I'll work with a coach, but it's necessary for your first bodybuilding show, I feel like. So I'm really looking forward to that in terms of my training and nutrition. And then in business, man, I have a couple of goals that I'll put y'all on to, but I want to get to that 20 to 25, maybe even 30 hours of training a week. It's going to get busy, but it will be nice to have that extra income, because I'm saving as much as I can to move my gym into like a retail location, have an actual storefront, and be more official, expand my equipment, and really do this thing, because owning a gym and training people out of it is super, super rewarding and fun. It's a cool process. And I want to elevate that just like everything else. So that is on the horizon for me as well. Just continuing to grind, continuing to save, just similarly to how I started up this little personal training studio outside. I want to do the same thing and really, really get it popping off. So I'm very, very excited for that. And guys, I don't really have much else for you, but be on the lookout within the next week of a guest. I've been in contact with some pretty high level guests that I'm very excited to bring to the podcast. So I appreciate y'all for sticking around with me. Appreciate y'all for coming back after this long hiatus. I'm sure it's going to be weird, maybe seeing like a trainer scoop video up on your Spotify podcast list or whatever, but definitely looking to grow the podcast again. So I'd really appreciate it once again, whether you're on YouTube or any of the other podcast hosting services. Go ahead and share it around, because we are back. We're back in business. I'm going to be bringing some awesome content to you guys through this podcast over the next couple months. So really looking forward to it. But I really appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next one.